Hey, my name is Jasmine. I currently study wildlife biology as well as work on a conservation. My apologies for my current appearance. It is currently both fire season and midterm season. So I currently have to deal with the prospect of both having constant mental breakdowns because it's midterm season and I'm setting myself on fire because it's fire season. That's only mostly a joke. I have melted clothing to myself before. As a matter of fact, I'm still wearing some of that clothing because I'm stupid. Also because I don't have the money to replace it because it's all volunteer work. But we aren't here to talk about that. Instead, we're going to talk about the one rule nature school never taught you. I've watched a little bit of this video before, so I will say that I'm going to be harping on this the entire video. But Mother Nature has this awesome thing where, as a person who studies biology, aka biologist, Mother Nature hates me, like me personally and all other biologists, because as scientists, we like to do this thing where we create cute little boxes and we put things in those boxes and we categorize them and we sort them and we put them in all these neat little boxes. And Mother Nature likes to go, fuck you, eat shit and die, and then shits on said box. All over it. So, yeah, it doesn't matter what sort of category we try to make, there's always the, at least when you're being educated on it, when you're learning about it, like in the field, it's like, okay, here's a box, here's good enough for what we're doing. When you're learning about it, it's always, here's the box, but also here are these half a dozen fucking other examples of like, hey, this doesn't quite apply here, or this doesn't quite apply here. So yeah, anyway, sorry, like I said, fire season. Anyway, let's get started on the video. This is Causal Geographic. My other two videos, and the other one I haven't posted yet, are by the Fat Electrician. So, new guy, awesome guy. I've actually watched him before making videos. So let's take a look at this video. And yeah. Also, just do this beforehand. I'm stealing his content, so obviously like, and I'm already subscribed. So anyway, let's get started, shall we? Nope, not touching that. I'm not sure why there's an animal on my porch, but it's not my problem. I will deal with that in the morning. That is creepy.
You have been
What was that?
consistently
I
lied
don't
to
know what that
your
was.
entire life, and the biggest source of some of the most unprovoked lies is school.
Yeah.
School really told us that this dude in '92 discovered America.
Well,
that
you also have the fact
quicksand
that
and
schools
giant
need
Venus
to
flytraps were way more of an issue than it ended up being.
make stuff
That
a lot
writing in
small
cursive was the only
or
way you'd
condense
ever be taken
information for
seriously.
people. I mean,
And
that's
my
probably
personal
college,
favorite,
although
whenever
college
a
does a
teacher
better
would
job
say,
of admitting it.
"This won't slide in college."
Oh,
Full time,
God.
your calculus professor at 5 p.m. can end up your beer pong partner by 11.
Yeah, no,
But
my
there's one
teacher growing up
mystery
was my
that
mother.
insists on being spread, and before
Don't
we
even
get to
get me
that,
started.
story time.
I love
Back
her,
in the
but
70s,
fucking hell.
ornithologists noticed something pretty disturbing, even for them. Fola is a remote island over 200 miles off Scotland, and for generations, migratory birds, specifically Arctic terns and one of the ops of happy feet, the skua, use it as nesting grounds to raise their chicks. And a group of ornithologists noticed a gruesome trend of chicks with pretty graphic injuries. Some chicks look like they had a leg or two ripped off.
Funny story. So, another thing that I have done in my surprisingly short life is I have been a farmer. My family did some farming. I did it too. One of the things that we raised was chickens, specifically for meat. We had the problem of we would come out in the mornings and find along the fence a row of dead chicks that had been decapitated. Now, predation is nothing new. Usually you try to figure out how the predator's getting in there, you block it off, yada, yada, yada. My family never really subscribed to the whole, oh, hey, this thing is killing our animals, let's just kill it, mostly. So, obviously, so that was our solution. But as it turned out, the solution was actually putting a net over it. Anyway, what would happen is we had an owl and would swoop into the pen because meat chickens are incredibly dumb for chickens, and they would actually sleep outside, not in their coop that was protected. They would sleep in the run, which was outside and didn't have a roof. And an owl would swoop down, pick it up, rip the head off, swallow the head whole, and drop the body in a row along the fence. You can imagine, this actually makes sense looking back, but at the time it was weird and kind of horrifying. Anyway, I'm going to try not yammer too much because this is
Others the same,
actually
but with
too
their
long a video,
wings.
but still.
Some chicks even had their heads divorced from their body, for sure irreconcilable. And while some of the chicks somehow survived
Yeah,
being
but then
mutilated,
it's just evil.
scientists
Or not
had
evil,
no
but
idea what
nature's
was
a bitch.
causing this sudden rise in amputees. At first they guessed otters or
Amputees
even
is
hedgehogs, but it turned out
vile.
to be neither. You want to know what it was? I promise you'll never guess it. I'll even give you a chance to try. Comment what you think. I bet you're wrong.
It was
The
definitely
answer?
birds.
Sheep.
Sheep?
Yeah.
Oh.
Sheep.
Yeah, no, that makes sense.
Scientists observed grazing sheep stumble across a defenseless chicken without a second thought
Oh,
or
no.
really even much of a prequel, grabbed them and eat them.
Yeah, no, that seems like
Sometimes a sheep would
something that would
snap off
happen.
a leg for a premature drumstick. Other times they
Premature
might grab one
drumstick
by the head and
is
initiate a
wild work.
permanent separation, swallowing skull and all whole. From 1973 to 1980, nearly 700 baby birds have been victimized by the business end of a carnivorous Q-tip. In the grand scheme of things, that's only a dent in the thousands of birds born
Carnivorous
in that
Q-tip.
time.
That
But
is
then again,
acceptance of
nobody
all time.
expected sheep to be involved in foul play. And that goes back to those lies I told you about. So in science class, we were taught this rule. Herbivores eat plants, carnivores eat meat, and those with culinary commitment issues are called omnivores. And for a lot of us, that's where it ended. But of course,
that's not where it is supposed to end. It's not where it should. Because, and I have a feeling that's what this video is, I know that's what this video is about. That's not actually as hard and fast of a rule. Like I mentioned, we scientists and humans generally like to make cute little boxes and put things in those boxes, and Mother Nature likes to take those boxes, shred them, shut on them, and tell you to go fuck yourself, eat shit, and die. Because, well, that's nature, and she's a bitch.
nature's more complicated than that.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a spectrum, and on one end you have obligate herbivores,
Yep.
as in they're obligated to eat just plants or starve to death. Here you got animals like koalas, sloths, and the dead-eyed plush toy, the bear cuscus. Then you have the same concept but obligate carnivores, like cats, of every kind. And smack in the middle are your omnivores. But there's also facultatives, and basically that means most of the time you'll find them at one end, but every once in a while they'll borrow a meal plan from the other side.
Yeah, no, that
Polar
checks
bears
out.
are hypercarnivores, with most of their calories coming from seals. But rarely they'll switch it up to berries, seaweed, moss, and even straight up grass, which makes them facultative carnivores and not an obligate like
sense.
a lion. And since we're already on bears, pandas are a good example of facultative herbivores. I promise it's going to get less complicated, but the yin-yang yogi's defining personality trait is being a bamboo merchant. But every once in a while, they surprise us, like when this panda was caught in 4K eating a past tense wildebeest, or when the DreamWorks jockey chased, caught, murked, and ate a peacock. They've also been known as picas. That's a pica. So even though most of what goes down his gullet is bamboo, protein in the form of meat is never really off the table, which makes them facultative herbivores, and they're not the only ones.
So here's the funny thing about science and evolution generally. Evolution does not dictate what is the best. Does not dictate what makes the most sense. Evolution dictates what is the most successful. And not turning down free calories and nutrients is successful. So it actually not only does it make sense, but it would be weird if they didn't have at least some periods where an animal who is herbivorous will eat a living organism that's not a plant. They'll eat, small rodents or a chick, because chicks are basically just the what's a good meat snack? Well, basically nests are just, bags of jerky for the nature world, just a communal snack you can grab real quick.
Almost the opposite. Almost every herbivore you can think of is actually facultative, even the ones you wouldn't expect. That's how the Good Vibes vegan aqua blimp has also been known to snag fish from.
I do the way that he talks to things, but there's also a picture of a cow in Australia slurping up a snake like it was a noodle.
Unlucky birds.
Yep, that checks out.
If you can literally fly but get taken off a census by a mobile boulder, that's more about you than him.
Yeah, no, that's just evolution.
India released 25,000 flesh-eating turtles to deal with the whole corpse population problem in the Ganges.
Of course they did.
It didn't work, by the way. But
That
by
checks out.
far, the biggest culprit of covert carnivory are deer. The same deer that's usually the poster boy for the middle child of the food chain will occasionally get calories from something like a past tense bunny.
Yeah.
A couple years ago,
It's free calories. Why would you turn
what
it down?
happens to the human body after the soul evacuates? And
Oh, I love
basically
this
set
story.
these body farms to see how they decompose. As you can probably guess, photos would go viral featuring deer chewing on human bones, scavenging through the man-made remains like vultures. In 2015, researchers in North Dakota set up nest cams for a 24-hour live stream of the hatchlings, and not
Those are actually still a thing. Some other things are a thing. Go to, I believe it is the Cornell Ornithology Lab. Just look that up. You should be able to find stuff on it. Where you can find live streams of like nests and feeders. It's really awesome. For my ornithology lab, before we started class, my professor would actually put on live streams from them of, actually while we did the lab, sometimes she put on like bald eagles in a nest, just feeders. That's also how she figured out that I love blue jays, because I would go from a dead college student who had to be on campus at 6 o'clock in the morning to do a test, because we started our lab with a fucking test, because reasons, would suddenly go from dead and like functionally dead to lighting up with joy because I saw a blue jay because I love them dearly. They are my favorite animal ever. Yeah. Anyway,
only did the footage catch deer enjoying an extremely late-term omelet, the cervets actually outdid the foxes
late-term
and weasels in
omelet.
that area, i.e. the
Late-term
ones you'd
omelet
expect that
is
from. And it wasn't just them being
wild,
opportunity
but pretty
birds.
accurate.
Some of those deer went out of their way to get to them.
Yeah,
And
no,
in
makes
Canada,
sense.
scientists were looking to study different
Hey, I've
species
used
of
those.
birds and so
Those
trapped
kinds
them
of nets.
using mist nets,
Yeah.
only for the unhinged ruminants to stroll in and
Basically, what you do is you string up two poles in a area. I realize my camera's actually not as big as I'm used to. So you take two poles in an area, you then put a thin net across it, which then has basically different layers. And what happens is the bird, it's kind of loose, so the bird flies into it. They then come underneath, and the net kind of seals itself up by just the weight because it falls underneath a stiff line across it, so it kind of just gets stuck really good. And then you can just reach in there, pull it out. It's a little bit of a pain to get them out, but it's majority non-lethal. Sometimes shit happens. Like it or not, that's a part of conservation. In order to study animals, there is a certain rate of, not necessarily not fatality, mortality rate. There we go. Sorry, it's midterm season. My brain is fried. But there's a certain mortality rate to be expected. Obviously, we want to keep it as low as possible because we don't want to negatively impact the ecosystem, or impact it in any way, actually. At least outside of intentional impacts, but it is a thing that happens.
eat the trapped and struggling birds alive,
Yeah, that checks
right
out.
out of the nets. Growing up is realizing Bambi would have 100% turned on Thumper if times got tough.
Yeah,
It's
that
now
checks out.
believed that a nutrient deficiency and a food shortage is really all it takes for an animal to go from herbivore to fernivore. Because one thing about animals,
Yeah.
they don't care. A deer not finna pass
that
down
makes
a
sense.
chance for easy protein just because a textbook
It's
says
just
they
evolution.
should.
It's just
What's worse
biology.
is almost every herbivore on Earth is facultative, meaning they'll take a page out of a predator's playbook if circumstances call for it. That's how you get normally docile horses treating baby birds like popcorn chicken, or that time cows in Australia were caught slurping pythons like
Literally
roll-ups,
just mentioned this.
all
Like, yeah,
because they
exactly.
were apparently feeding for phosphorus. Even giraffes, yeah, they're not safe either. The
That is
verticality
adorable.
merchants of the motherland will often feed off the bones of other animals, not
Yeah.
really swallowing them,
Free
but more
calcium.
like licking and sucking on it, pause, so their saliva can leach off nutrients like calcium and phosphorus. There have also been cases of the camel leopard cosplaying antelope snatching up birds to feed on their misfortune.
Yep.
So far,
Makes
we've
sense.
learned three things. One, most herbivores are about as vegetarian as their options.
That's
Two,
true.
baby birds are really the Kit Kat bars of nature. And three,
Very
now you
accurate.
see why Marty did everything in his power to get up out of there. His entire friend group would have had his hide if it got to that point. Which, of course,
Yeah,
brings
that's
us to hippos.
accurate.
And this is where things get
I wouldn't even say hippos are
at this point, it
herbivores.
probably surprises exactly none of you that the
I would-
four-legged assassin
let's say check. Herbivores
have a
were-
hankering for flesh.
Yeah, let's say check.
Hippos have been
Hippos
seen
were
eating carcasses
omnivorous.
and even resorting to cannibalism. It's complicated because
I feel like someone needs to make a meme that, this thing is just this thing meme, and just go, calories are calories. It does not matter where it comes from. We humans have evolved large brains, which has resulted in morality, but calories are calories. Thankfully, actually, there's certain evolutionary reasons for us to not engage in cannibalism, with the additional fact that humans are incredibly unhealthy. Like, as far as meat goes, human meat is really unhealthy, which is a very wild thing to say. However, biology major, I find things interesting. And if I see some information on it, yeah, I'm gonna read it because I find it interesting. Yeah. Anyway,
for a while we thought it was the same deal as before, just animals switching it up when their primary
Yeah,
food
that makes
source is
sense.
compromised, which would
'Cause
make
they do like
hippos
grass.
facultative herbivores, as that
Mhm.
word again. Except more and more scientists are coming to the conclusion that hippos eating meat aren't just scavenging or being opportunists.
yeah.
It's just hippos hippoing,
Mhm.
as in hippos will put themselves in a position to catch a body and subsequently feed on it. There
Yeah,
have been
no,
reports
that
of
just makes
hippos
sense.
murking livestock and seemingly predatory assaults,
Mhm.
and some even believe hippos will purposely park themselves in a river migrating animals have no choice but to cross, just so they can turn the casualties into calories.
Yeah.
Sometimes that involves punking crocodiles out of food. And
I
of
mean, if
course,
you're a
you already
hippo,
know, hippos
makes
are
sense.
not above feeding off friendly fire. All this means hippos might not even be herbivores at all, but identify closer to the omnivore side of the
Yep.
spectrum. And that's why it's complicated, because now you're probably asking, what's the difference between a facultative herbivore and a straight up omnivore? And there's an answer. I just really couldn't tell you. Like, you could say
I'm going to, now this is an assumption here, but I'm going to assume the difference is just how common it is. For example, if an animal if you give them meat, free meat and a free plant, free whatever they eat for vegetation, if you give them the two options, if it's 50-50 whether or not they'll choose it, then that'd probably be omnivorous, versus if they will go for the plant 90% of the time, and if they have a nutrient deficiency, then go for the meat, then it'll be facultative. I think. Educated guess here, but yeah. Anyway, continue on.
Facultatives eat mostly plants but can resort to meat as a fallback, where omnivores can normally go either way, but I'd be lying if I said I didn't just make that up on the spot.
I mean, it makes
Moral of the
sense.
story, it's way more complex than just putting labels on things and calling it a day.
Yeah,
For
no.
example,
Nature.
that is a common diker, and it's an
Those
antelope
are
less than 2 feet tall
adorable.
found in sub-Saharan Africa.
I want to pet
And
it.
I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's the only antelope that regularly
I don't want
eats
to pet that
meat.
now. That looks
Along with the
horrifying.
shrubs and grasses you'd expect, the meal plan for this antelope undertaker often involves combing through corpses,
Yeah.
along with lizards,
Free
frogs,
food.
small rodents, and, you guessed it, baby birds.
Of
And
course.
because a good percentage of their diet requires other animals to diet with the T silent, I'd call the diker an omnivore. But then, you got this, the tree-loving, pretty privileged acorn hoarders of the rodent world.
Squirrels are evil. I don't mean that as like a, well, you know, some animals do bad things, but they don't really have morals. No, squirrels are genuinely evil. The reason why I say this is they're very bitey. Additionally, a friend of mine actually worked in a like wildlife rehabilitation center, and you know what she had to deal with the squirrels? You had to cover your face when you walked by their pens, because if you've ever seen like vets also have like, you know, a bank of cages with you know, just iron bars and then like kind of stainless steel, you know, easy clean and shit like that. Yeah, the squirrels would climb on the bars and piss on them, on the workers as they walked by, supposedly. So yeah, evil, evil little bastard.
Many will tell you that with a grocery list of mostly plants, fruits, nuts, and seeds, the squirrel is mostly herbivorous. But squirrels are also infamous for
And actually, I wasn't a bird, but I remember when we had cicadas, I was walking across campus and I actually saw a squirrel walk up, like it was an acorn, pick up a cicada. The cicada was screaming. It was not screaming very long as the squirrel proceeded to devour it like an acorn. It didn't seem surprised. Seemed very intentional. So, and while technically that'd be more insectivorous as opposed to carnivorous, still they're eating another animal, so close enough.
raiding
And
birds'
plus,
nests and turning
raiding birds'
variable
nests,
poultry
yeah.
into protein. And yeah, they do this a lot.
Yep.
On occasion, you'll see squirrels pack up chickens and snakes. There was even a
Or
story
trash.
of a pack of Russian squirrels ganging up on a stray dog and eviscerating the canine alive, each scurrying off with their share of flesh. Yeah, not so.
I'll be honest, I don't think that was a normal case. I feel like that would definitely fall under they probably had like rabies or something like that. But I have no reason to say that they did, or well, I have a reason to say they did because that seems quite aggressive for squirrels typically. But it's not out of the question. I mean, yeah.
Cute now. They're not the only rodents that go rogue either. Normally, grass-eating prairie dogs have been known to savage baby ground squirrels, and
Of
on
course.
rare occasions, even eat the remains. In case you're curious, they do this by shaking the baby violently until their existence gets revoked. That's not even my worst rodent fact
Fascinating.
in the chamber. In 1995, a
Oh, no.
43-year-old woman was found deceased in her flat with facial lesions and lacerations, and the fact that she was naked from the waist down. First responders
Oh,
thought it
God.
was a special victims unit kind of crime.
I
Except
would
it was
too.
later determined that she had expired to pneumonia. The desecration of
Ooh.
her corpse was caused by her pet golden hamster. Not
Of
only did
course.
the pet feed on her vacated vessel, law enforcement would find the hamster's makeshift burrow containing human skin, flesh, and muscle tissue. But that shouldn't even really
Fascinating.
be a surprise since hamsters are known
Yeah.
cannibals, but what you might
Oh,
not
that's
know is that sometimes it can
Fascinating,
be
but not
caused
surprising.
by corn. Researchers at the University of Strasbourg found this out by accident when they tried to figure out why the female hamsters under their care kept dominating their own children. Through some likely traumatizing trial and error, they figured out that just a corn diet was even the hamster's missing crucial vitamins, specifically
that makes
B3.
sense.
They figured that out because once they added B3 back into their diets, the mother hamsters suddenly remembered how to mother. And the crazy part is, that can happen to people.
Oh, yeah.
Vitamin B3
That's not at all
deficiency
surprising.
can lead to pellagra, a disease associated with diarrhea, dermatitis, dementia, and eventually dying. So in a weird twist, an unbalanced diet can really lead to spawn-wrecking rodents, and they're not the only known cannibals in nature.
I think I've cited this before, but there was actually a case in Russia or in the Soviet Union during World War II, during I believe it was the siege of Leningrad, where a family who were farmers, the mother and father engaged in cannibalism of their own children because they did not have enough food, and when they were put on trial, I believe they were actually executed for it, but when they were put on trial for cannibalism and murder, their only defense was, but we were going to have more. So yeah, anyway, I actually probably should do some research on that story to make sure it's actually real and not just some dumb shit I heard once. You know, actually doing my scientific due diligence, but also I'm doing the finals, so not the time. Anyway, Back to the video.
Chimpanzees are a great example of animals don't care.
Yeah, they don't.
Chimps have been known to de-life their rivals and devour the body.
Yeah.
Now, to us,
Why are you
it's
putting down
horrific
calories
and
they had to
makes
fight for?
chimps the spawn of Satan. To a chimp with no legal system or a sense of morality, just a will to live, it's common sense. Murdering your rival to protect your food supply and not letting easy protein go to waste.
Yeah.
And before you judge, early humans reportedly made the brains of terminated children a somewhat regular part of their diets.
I mean, not only that, but the reality of that we went through, and almost certainly, well, not almost certainly, we certainly, with like Neanderthals, or at least we know for certain with Neanderthals. I'm not entirely sure of other species, but we either fucked or killed them out of existence. They're all gone. We have signs of extreme violence being perpetrated against them as like mass killings, as well as the average European has like 3 to 5% Neanderthal DNA, implying that we killed most of them and fucked the rest. Hopefully it was a more consensual joining of Homo sapiens and not forceful. But let's be realistic here. Optimism. What's that saying? Wish in one hand, shit in the other. See which one fills up first. Yeah. Anyway.
But I think people forget chimps aren't just violent pseudo-vegans. They're legit predators, as in they'll work together in coordinated attacks on prey like colobus monkeys, which, isn't all that different from getting disemboweled by a pack of Olympic-level parkour zombies.
Yeah, no, that'd be
They've
heinous.
also been known to hunt bush babies, that's a bush baby, by using spears.
Of course.
But with all the chimp carnage on this channel, them having carnivore tendencies should really be no surprise.
Yeah,
The plot
it's not all
twist is
surprising.
even the pacifists of the great apes can be on predatory timing. Most people, including me about 2 weeks ago, see orangutans as a good vibes hippie vegetarians of the primate world.
Yeah, I'm not
Which is
surprised, but
almost
also
true. Ginger
wasn't
eats mostly the
expect.
stuff
Yeah,
you'd expect.
no,
you
that's
know,
surprised.
fruits, figs, leaves, maybe some termites to go with
Like,
bird
yeah, no,
eggs.
of course they
Then
are.
you got this, an orangutan tearing apart a slow loris, the same one known for being venomous, which Orions figured out how to neutralize by using the loris's natural weakness, blunt force trauma in the form of a bite through the skull. Now, to be fair, a meat-eating man of the forest is remarkably rare. But then again, chances are, before this video, a good number of y'all probably thought orangutans were only a threat to pieces of fruit. The same way a lot of people feel about toucans. Well, this roided-up woodpecker, which is actually what toucans are, the more you know, has also been known to put bats on permanent leave from life.
Yeah, that's not surprising.
That's what our Fruit Loops commercials ain't show you. They're also one of the many animals on the list of population control for baby birds. Oh, you thought that was a...
Also, something you should do if you get the chance, go onto Google and look up toucan beak or bill. Because what's funny is apparently beak is just like a common term. In a scientific sense, we're talking about the, bony protrusion from the face of a bird. It is always called a bill, not just in ducks, all birds. It's actually hollow on the inside. It's really cool. Like, it seems weird when you actually look at an entire toucan, like how big their bill is. But it's mostly hollow, so it actually makes more sense that they have such a large bill.
Mammal thing. Well, two can play that game. Yo, who wrote this? I did. I wrote it. I'm sorry. But birds in general will eat virtually anything that doesn't pack them up in the process.
Yeah.
Seagulls have been seen scarfing down squirrels with zero remorse.
Or the pelican that ate a fucking pigeon.
Down a dog thanks to this flying antichrist. But the biggest example of feathery f***ery is what happens on Malgus Island. This is where we go full circle.
Seagull
This
behavior.
island off the coast of South Africa is a nursery for the thousands of Cape gannets nesting here. Which would probably be a good idea if someone ain't snitched to the pelicans. Because a population of white pelicans started traveling to Malgus just so they can swallow gannet chicks whole, often right in front of their parents.
Yeah, that checks out.
And if one was unlucky enough to have both parents out at sea, that's just an easy link for this attack on Titan pterosaur. It gets worse when you realize the half-digested, fully molested baby birds often end up being regurgitated for the pelican progeny to eat. And you thought they just ate fish. Predators come in many forms.
Actually, that's the video I think I saw of one eating a pigeon.
Home to one of the most unlikely, because if you bleed on the wrong island, you can attract a pack of coconut crabs.
Oh,
God.
God.
Not only is a satanic manifestation in the form of crustacean attracted to blood, they're more than enthusiastic scavengers.
Yeah, I love crabs, but those things are kind of freaky.
Island, it took the homicidal hermit crabs a week to completely undress a pig carcass down to the bones. But with pinchers strong enough to humble a coconut, the killer crabs are more than capable of catching their own prey.
That is horrifying, but also really fascinating.
Ambush sleeping birds. This video was taken of a crab after it had snapped the hollow bones of a seabird. The part you don't see is where a group of crabs arrived at the injured and incapacitated avian and proceeded to tear the bird apart. They've also been known to make a meal out of rats, cats, and maybe even humans. because a grisly theory on the disappearance of Amelia Earhart was that a cluster of crabs got to her before anyone else could. And
That
the
makes
worst
sense.
part, there's no guarantee she was relieved from life by the time they got to her.
Oh, yeah.
Because even though Mr. Krabs on creatine normally goes for fruit, just like most animals on Earth, they're only as vegetarian as their options. Hug your loved ones, stay safe out there, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Oh, speaking of which, my eye's fine. I got LASIK, so I look like I lost the fight, but I also got the gift of sight, so...
Oh, that's cool.
Sigh. Alright,
Good
peace
for him.
out.
Why are you fighting a pelican for a fish? That's a losing battle.
I can cook the fish.
Wait, are you
so,
feeding?
Yeah.
What in the hell is going on in this video?
Yeah, I guess.
Oh, he's got a hook in him.
That's.
I'm
Yeah.
not even going to touch or question that. Fuck no. But anyway, yeah, no, welcome to Mother Nature. As a biology major, Mother Nature hates me and hates all of my comrades. And, yeah, no. Everything you're taught is always a lie because Mother Nature likes to take our rules and shit on them. So, yeah, anyway, hope you found this entertaining. And if you like my content, if you somehow made it this far through my incoherent ramblings, evidently you clearly somewhat enjoyed it. So if you would be oh so kind as to go down below and do the liking and maybe even subscribe, because, you know, if you like my content, you probably want to see more of it, because I have, like, what, should have by now 3 reaction videos, like 5 total videos on my channel. I don't fucking know. So obviously you somewhat enjoy my content, so why not give a subscribe so YouTube will suggest more of my content to you, and you can enjoy more of it. Why not? So yeah, anyway, thank you for liking and subscribing if you did. Thank you for sticking around this long. If you enjoyed my content or have any suggestions, please feel free to make a comment. I read every comment I receive because I don't receive very many, so it's no big deal. I'm happy to go through and read whatever it is you have to say to me. So please feel free to. I love talking with y'all. Y'all are cool. So yeah, not sure what else to say, so I guess I'll just see y'all in the next video. Bye. See, remember how to turn off a fucking video.